This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening and welcome to SMNI. Here watching Business and Politics, I'm your host Dante Klink. Our guest tonight is Dr. William Dar, who twice served as Secretary of the Department of Agriculture. The first time was during the administration of Joseph Estrada. During his brief stint, Dr. Dar was credited for a remarkable 9.6% growth in the agriculture sector that has not been replicated to this day. As many know, he was again tapped as Agriculture Secretary by former President Rodrigo Duterte. From 2019 to 22, Dr. Dar pushed for the transformation of Philippine agriculture through the 1DA reform agenda that has four major pillars: consolidation, modernization, industrialization, and professionalization. Of course, Dr. Dar's work in agriculture extends way beyond his time in government. To sum that up, he has been a champion of the poor, especially the small farmers, fisherfolk, and agripreneurs. For that, he has received many awards and recognitions, including the first Swaminathan Global Leadership Award for Sustainable Development 2022, given by the Indian Chamber of Food and Agriculture, the 10 Outstanding Young Men, or TOYM, of the Philippines in 1998, the Outstanding Filipino or TOEFL Award in cognizance of his servant leadership in 2016, 11 honorary doctoral degrees from various colleges and universities across the country, and others too many to mention here. As his background suggests, our topic tonight will literally be about gut issues. Our general line will be, how do we ensure food security for all Filipinos? Doctor, please have a seat. Thank you for making time for Business and Politics, and welcome to the program.
Thank you to Klink.
Sir, I forgot to mention that you also write for the Manila Times.
Thank you.
And as we know from the Times and other news organizations, rice is a major story these days. It's attracting a lot of attention. There seems to be an impression that there may be a shortage, and there were some, of course, government interventions. But as former secretary and someone who's really, who has your ear on the ground, so to speak, what's your assessment of the rice situation right now?
Well, thank you, Klink, for this opportunity to be with you today or tonight. On the rice issue, according to government data, there is enough rice to feed the whole country, except that they also agree that there is very thin buffer stocking happening in the country today. So while we agree that there are global headwinds, maraming problema sa mundo impacting on our situation, like banning of India for the rice exports, and even to some extent Vietnam planning to tighten their exports. So that started the whole thing. There have been panic to some extent, knee-jerk reaction. And so there is now the existing price cap implemented by government.
President, yeah.
But everyone is also aware that there are consequences of this price cap. The farmers are affected in regard to the farm gate price. Already they were getting 20 and above pesos per kilo palay. Now with the price cap, that has gone down to 14, 15, 16 pesos per kilo palay. So they're affected. Also, the retailers are affected. And of course, while they're affected, government is also talking about giving subsidy, one-time subsidy to retailers. And of course, the farmers continue to receive subsidy from now and then. So Yes, I think I would like to also advocate that the option to really manage the prices of rice at this point in time is the lowering of tariffs.
Okay.
You know, presently when we import rice from ASEAN countries, there is a tariff of 35%. Now, I would believe that because the very objective of the tariff, that is to really collect for the farmers, the rice farmers, there is about now 17 billion pesos collected out of this tariff collection. And so 10 billion is being allocated yearly for the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund.
RSF.
And there is additional 7 billion that can be given as ayuda to the rice farmers having 2 hectares and below. So in this way, this could also be a measure that can be put in place until the end of the year, so that there is enough volume, there is enough rice in terms of the inventory of the country, 60 to 90 days supposedly, and even to mitigate the coming of El Nino again. So there are many good measures that can be worked out to help both the farmers and the consuming public.
But are you worried, Secretary, that there will be a global tightening of supply, or are we just making preparations for what might happen because of global supply chain challenges, because of...
If El Nino becomes really a major happening coming, then drought will be present to most of the rice-producing countries.
I see.
And, the global rice market is a very thin market.
Oh, okay.
About 5 to 6% of global production. So if China is affected and other countries affected, really we will also be greatly affected as an importing country meanwhile.
It's curious for me to hear that this issue has revived that old policy debate, whether or not we should be rice sufficient or rice secure or food secure. Do you think that the situation validates that kind of revival in policy discussion?
I would, having gone through, 2 administrations,
Yes, sir.
and with these new developments in the world, it is now time to really to put our, a decision whether to strive for rice self-sufficiency or not.
Okay.
Now, there is a new program of the Department of Agriculture, which we also had started conceptualizing then. This is the Masagana Rice Program.
Yes, sir.
And the objective is to reach the level of 97.5%.
Okay.
Okay, which is near 100% already.
Yes.
Now, can we be 100%? I think it's possible, but there are many things to consider.
Okay.
Number one, we need to continue and elevate our efforts in farm clustering.
Okay.
There's no scale, so to speak.
It's all backyard.
So backyard, so subsistence, 1 hectare average. So how can farmers apply mechanization in a big way?
All right.
So you need to cluster them, even turning them into cooperatives later, so that the necessary support services coming from government, like the giving of machineries and the drying facilities, warehousing, can be given through the cooperatives. Okay. Now, even if you have now this setup of clustered farms, then the private sector are encouraged to come forward and invest in rice production.
Okay.
With the present level of land holding at 1 hectare per family or per farmer, for that matter, the private sector cannot come forward. So there you are. Scale, economies of scale is number one for us to be looking forward for a sustainable 100% rice self-sufficiency. The second prescription I would call would be in the area of engineering, infrastructure development in broad terms. You know, if you have build for airports, tollways and the like, this is the time to also consider a build for agriculture. What do I mean?
Irrigation.
Irrigation is number one. Rice production is dependent on water, good water management, availability of water. We still need to develop irrigation systems good for 1 million hectares.
Okay.
So if we are serious enough, then put that investment. And of course, at the rate the National Irrigation Administration is investing every year, they can only afford to develop good for 35,000 hectares.
Okay.
So we hope and we believe that the administration of President Marcos can accelerate the development of these irrigation systems good for 1 million hectares by way of having public-private partnership.
Okay.
So you bring the private sector, invest, and you pay them over time. So that's possible. So within the next 5 years, pwede nang ma-irrigatean yung 1 million hectares additionally. Now, what are the other infrastructures? You know, we always have so much rain, and there is flooding. So there is destruction of agriculture.
Floods and droughts.
Yes, floods and droughts.
Yeah.
So we need now to consider in a big way the construction of rainwater catchments.
Okay.
In a big way. Even retrofitting the dams, the big dams that we have, so that you have secondary, tertiary, you know,
I see.
cascading dams, even sabo dams. So you are mitigating flooding. At the same time, you will have water for irrigation. You can also put fish, tilapia, hito in these big ponds. So there is merit to doing rainwater catchments in a big way. So that's again an engineering, intervention. Farm-to-market roads.
Yeah.
You know, you dot the rural landscape with more farm-to-market roads so that you can encourage more production, not only in rice, but for other crops, high-value crops, fruit trees, plantation crops. What more can be done? The third part is the use of innovation now, technology, in the best way possible. So that we of course continue to support innovation system by way of research and development, continuously developing newer varieties, high-yielding varieties, climate-resistant varieties, and the like. So this is what I can see for the long-term sustainability of rice production in the country.
Sir, that 1 billion that needs to be irrigated.
1 million hectares.
1 million hectares. How much will that cost? I mean, I know as probably Secretary, you probably looked into that before. If you can maybe recall, I mean, how much? I mean, is it a realistic number for a single administration?
It is possible. I think the investment, if I am correct, that should be about per hectare should be about 800,000 pesos.
Okay.
So you have 1 million times 800,000. So say 1 million also.
Yeah. And say that 1 million hectares is irrigated. I think the issue there is to increase the productivity, right?
Yes, number one always is the productivity. That's your first major big strategy, to increase productivity per unit area.
So with rain-fed areas, you harvest once. But if you irrigate, what's the possibility? Twice, 3 times?
Yeah, minimum of 2 times. You can go 2.5% cropping intensity. Why not? So there you are. We are near already 100%.
Okay.
So with this additional investment in irrigation systems, then you can really sustain the production of rice over time. And with all the other interventions, infrastructure, and the use of technology and innovation.
Right. Sir, very interesting discussion. We'll just have to take a quick break. This is Business and Politics. We'll be right back.
Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Ikaw ba'y may suliranin na may kinalaman sa mga ahensya ng ating pamahalaan? Inihahandog ng SMNI ang programang makakapiling ninyo sa araw-araw na maaring ninyong maging daingan. Tampok ang dating Chief Legal Counsel ng nakaraang Pangulo, ang veteranong abogado na si Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo.
Bishops.
Tulong at payo tagapamagitan sa ating mga lingkod bayan. Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Dito lamang sa SMNI. Ang totoong boses ng bayan.
Welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to Dr. William Dar, former Secretary of the Department of Agriculture. Sir, very interesting discussion on rice. Now, one of the things that has been reported is who will plant this crop or this grain, because I think you yourself said when you were still at the DA that you were already warning that the farmers are aging and that we need to get the younger Filipinos to get it. And then recently you were in Jakarta at the ASEAN summits. You're talking about agripreneurship. Can you expound on that concept? Is that the solution?
Yes, Klink. I think even let's use the Philippine scenario, the Philippine agriculture sector as a case in point. You know, we need to elevate our mindset in treating agriculture as now an agribusiness venture. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, as we said before, subsistence farming, 1 hectare average. So all this will lead to really backyard agriculture.
Yeah.
So agribusiness is the way forward. And I've been hammering that out when during the Duterte administration that I served, that the way we can elevate agriculture so that we can also encourage the youth, and because our farmers are aging, is agripreneurship.
Okay.
Now, I was highlighting early on about clustering.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So necessarily when you are now clustered, then you go elevate your game into forming cooperatives. Mm-hmm. So these cooperatives will be the entry point as well to have a good mindset, a more comprehensive mindset of agribusiness, so that the production can be handled much better in terms of increasing productivity per unit area by the farmers. Then the cooperatives will handle the market.
Okay.
And will handle the agribusiness opportunities for the group. In that way, the farmers will be getting much higher, of course, again, as a group, they have higher productivity and higher income. Mm-hmm. Because they are now looking at the whole value chain. Mm-hmm. Much more when they partner with private sector. Mm-hmm. And that's where that public-private partnership between the big brothers and the government together will partner to nurture and assist the clustered farms, the cooperative farms. So that's what we are proposing even in our discussions in Jakarta. You know, I was requested to highlight how can we ensure food security for the ASEAN region from the Business Advisory Council point of view. Mm-hmm. And it's good governments are already talking as well and having good agreements. But again highlighting the importance of the private sector investments. Because governments cannot do alone in terms of all the budget necessary to prop up the agriculture sector. It has to be led by the private sector. So in our case, we have the Kapatid Angat Lahat Agri Program, KALAP.
KALAP, yep.
Under the Go Negosyo, Mr. Joey Concepcion initiated this. We started this in January. And now we are almost having about 32 big brothers. Meaning these are the heads of companies, big companies in agriculture, engaged in agribusiness. So we signed agreements with the government, particularly those institutions directly involved in those commodity industries. And in a way, we are saying that the business models, the inclusive business models of the big brothers, the private companies, will have to be also be institutionalized in the roadmap development of that commodity industry. So that's what the government has agreed to also, to really see to it that the successful models already experienced by private sector can also be advocated much more by government.
Yeah. Secretary, do you think that's possible to do in rice? Because I see a lot of younger people going into, with a high-tech approach to vertical farming. They have these higher value crops, but rice is quite strategic and important for the Philippines. Is it?
Very much so. The new technologies, the drone technology for one.
Yes.
It can be used for direct seeding. Rice.
Wow. Okay.
It can be used to do some spraying.
Okay.
It can be used for fertilizing the rice, the biofertilizers for one. So there are many uses of these new technologies.
Okay.
Even simple apps like monitoring planting dates and harvesting dates, so that you can directly link them to, say, markets. So these are very powerful tools, and now can encourage the younger generation to come because of that agribusiness orientation, because of the new use of technologies like drones, the apps, and
even AI,
artificial intelligence. Yes, everything is possible now that we can really bring the younger generation to agriculture and agribusiness.
Is that already happening, Secretary, or do we need to do more promotions? Because I think when you were Secretary...
When I was there as Secretary Klink, we saw to it that there are good programs that we initiated, and that's still ongoing.
Okay.
That's still being done by the present leadership. That's good. And we can accelerate. And even if there are other programs, like what I can mention one additional program which we started, but there's little funding today, is the startups in agriculture. We need to build up that mindset again, that culture of having to encourage the younger generation by way of having some funding for their initiatives and their ideas, having to have proof of concept before you go commercialize it.
At the ASEAN meeting, they were talking about cross-border flow of funding for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Did you hear any of that discussion maybe applied to agripreneurs in ASEAN?
Good you asked me that, Klink. We signed up, Go Negosyo here, through the Kapatid Angat Lahat program, agri-program, KALAP, signed up with 7 ASEAN countries.
Wow. Okay.
So this is the first time at the ASEAN level, elevated na yung Business Advisory Council to Business Advisory Council level. And this morning we met, and there is a visit of the Malaysian group that will now pursue this collaboration at the business level. So ang ganda, we had signed first with Malaysia, followed by Indonesia, Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos. So almost all the member economies are now utilizing this power of the Business Council as a way to enhance also this big brother relationship with the government to help the agri and SMEs.
Yes.
So you know pretty well that there are lots of MSMEs in agriculture
Yes, sir.
needing capacity building,
Yes, sir.
needing all this assistance, mentoring,
Yes.
linkage to capital, and linkage to markets.
Yeah.
So ito po yung pinag-aabalan natin ngayon.
Yeah, but outside of the Go Negosyo Kala program, you have been going around as well the region. Is there other opportunities you think for young entrepreneurs to connect with, say, Malaysian, Indonesian, Thai young entrepreneurs? Is that a possibility?
Yes, that's part of the. I would call. We have now brought to the level of the ASEAN.
Okay.
The CALAP program.
Okay.
Where we will also look at possibilities of the young entrepreneurs to have partnership between and among countries already.
I see.
So iba't ibang member economies ng ASEAN, ganon, hindi lang yung big business, but seeing to it that we will look at the possibilities of encouraging the younger generation to elevate their game in agribusiness.
Yeah. You know, I noticed that the people who were drawn to you, and as including the Filipinos who were attending there, many of them are young. And you know, what would it take to convince, you know, from your experience, what would it take to convince younger Filipinos that agriculture is sexy and, I guess, profitable?
You know, there is this Young Challenge program that we started in DA. This was funded out of the initiative of Senator Amy Marcos.
Okay.
You know, there is this is a year-long program where they start with a province, goes to the regional, and now national.
I see.
So they are given, I mean, their ideas are translated into concept paper, and until they evolve and can showcase a proof of concept. That's an important program that can be upgraded again. Another one I mentioned about startups.
Yes, sir.
You know, because there are many younger generation who would like to really get busy, get engaged, and again, the startup is necessary. Enough funding for that is key. Then, of course, there are existing collaboration with Taiwan, with Israel, the government. We are sending youngsters, the younger generation, to stay there 3 months and or even 6 months, so that when they come back, there should be a funding available, so that their ideas that they have learned can be converted into agribusiness opportunities. So ito po dapat pagigihan pa natin by way of really enticing the younger generation to come to do farming and agribusiness.
Sir, you know, the government is now looking at K-12. Is there a need to maybe revisit how we can inculcate a love of agriculture in the land?
I agree. Elementary days when I was then younger.
Yes, sir.
High school, lahat yan.
Tatanim.
May gardening sa high school, may actual farming na.
Yeah.
So we need to introduce again. Kung walang gardening dun sa primary elementary school, ibalik natin school gardening as a subject and practiced already right there and there. Ganun din sa high school, dapat pagigihan na early enough the importance of innovation and technology, so that as they grow and finish even their degree or not even having a degree, but say a 2-year diploma course, then they can now go straight to business.
Right.
You know, ang problema natin, Klink, dito sa bansa, yung higher education institution, ang goal lang ng establishment ng CHED ay employability.
Right.
I think that's short-sighted.
Okay.
I believe we should have an equally important goal of entrepreneurship.
Interesting, yeah.
You know, the data would indicate almost every year we graduate 700 students, but only 10 to 15% of them are gainfully employed.
Right, yeah.
So many of these graduates that we have every year are unemployed, if not underemployed. So the entrepreneurship paradigm is key to really encouraging and early enough, even while they are in high school and college, that paradigm of entrepreneurship must start.
And agriculture can supply
Agriculture,
the...
yes.
Sir, again, we'll have to take a quick break. We're talking to former Secretary William Dar of the Department of Agriculture. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to Secretary William Dar, formerly of the DA. Sir, you were at the ASEAN summits, the Investment and Business and Investment Summit, and the other summits. What are some of the key takeaways, sir, in the meetings that you attended that is relevant to our agriculture sector?
Okay, number one, as an ASEAN community, I believe that countries must elevate our engagement in terms of ensuring food security for the whole ASEAN region.
Okay.
And while there is now an existing mechanism of having to be part of the solutions, like those who are producing, say, rice can be part of, say, having part of their buffer stock good for, say, natural calamities.
I see.
When that happens to a number of countries. So we should contribute from time to time. That, I believe we should increase the volume, not only from present level.
Okay.
Number two, we should hasten and harmonize the trade regulations so that, you know, we are already one regional community.
Yeah, AFTA.
AFTA. So, again, looking at every opportunity that the balance of trade can be pursued as well. In most cases, tayo na didehado pa rin hanggang ngayon.
Okay.
So, we need to up our game in terms of our export orientation. You know, that's where most of the ASEAN countries now are ahead of us because they have eyed on the export potentials for the respective country. Now, more than ever, we should not only look out for what we require here in the country, but regionally, globally, export orientation is a must. Then less trade restrictions,
Even with NAFTA?
Even with all those existing agreements, there are still regulations
I see.
that have to be harmonized. Harmonization is the name of the game.
Okay.
And the power of technology is one key thing that we have to be utilized in all respect. All things about, again, harmonization for one, and requirements, for example, on trade. So I believe that this twin approach, you have the ASEAN government, that's the public route, while there is the route for the Business Advisory Council.
I see.
This is a good twin model that has to interact regularly, which they are doing. So in agriculture, like what we have signed, Malaysia for one, we said we are interested in terms of palm oil,
Okay.
rubber, and they are also interested maybe in poultry,
Okay.
because we are almost there. We are almost sufficient in poultry.
Okay.
So we can export poultry to Malaysia. So elevating the game again. In terms of rubber and palm oil, we need to request newer varieties of these plantation crops so that we can be competitive with the rest of the world. Again, the word there is Klink, is competitiveness.
Okay.
We need every step of the way now to be globally competitive. Otherwise, maiiwan tayo palagi.
Right.
So every opportunity in terms of elevating our productivity, even to the extent of course, profitability will always be there. So you need to lower your cost of production.
Sure.
And sustainability concerns, the impacts of climate change. We need now to decarbonize
Right.
our agriculture, because agriculture is one of the source of the greenhouse emission.
Sir, one of the things I heard during the meetings was the need for more complementarity. And you've been talking about that. There should be more trade among the ASEAN members. But one of the practical issues that I've heard from Filipinos is that we make many of the same things that our neighbors make. But do you see opportunities where complementarity can happen, and where would those be, Nano, you think?
Okay. For example, I was talking already about yung kailangan ng Malaysia or other countries na ang dominant population mo ay Muslim.
So they need chicken,
So
halal.
they need halal products.
Yeah.
So dapat ito yung pagigihan ng Pilipinas to produce more of halal products and export it to these countries dominated by Muslims. So ganun din sa atin. Rice for one, initially, meanwhile. So we have to develop more relations in terms of rice agriculture with Vietnam, with Thailand. Although, of course, they came here and learned the trade, so to speak, early days. But we are lacking in implementation in terms of the very requirements to make our rice production sustainable.
Yeah. Do you think, sir, RCEP will also help the agri-sector? I mean, that's fully in place now. There was a lot of excitement about maybe exporting durian. Are we ready? I mean...
I think, again, the name of the game for RCEP is competitiveness.
Yes.
And, of course, competitiveness in terms of leveling up your productivity. And being globally competitive, you reduce your cost of production.
Yeah.
And you have to have volume.
Okay.
You have to have quality.
Okay.
Consistently over time. Otherwise, one thing you may say, I will supply you, but next time around you don't have the volume, you don't have the quality.
Sure.
So those are the long-term insights that you need to cultivate from now and then.
Yeah.
And seeing to it that the support system must be there for private sector, the farmers, to really level up.
Yeah.
It's all elevating of our game in agriculture and agribusiness.
Do you think that the government should take, a much more active approach? Because some of the critics say that if you look at, say, pineapples, if you look at bananas, these crops have really prospered. And they prospered because the government did not intervene. Is there an argument there?
Good, you mentioned that. Where the private sector leads,
Yes, sir.
then you only have to have the nurturing support system.
Okay.
Where rice, take the case of rice, where
sir.
government is investing so much.
Yes, sir.
Then there is still subsistence rice farming.
Yes.
So the more you engage with the private sector, the better.
Okay.
The more you partner the private sector with the small farmers, the better. But you need to go to clustering,
I see.
consolidation, so that you can have economies of scale.
Yeah. Sir, are there any particular crops that excite you? Say, there's a lot of talk about coffee, cacao, for instance. Are the opportunities there really worth looking
Very
into?
much so for cacao, coffee. We only produce very little of our requirement.
Okay.
Much of that still is imported.
Right.
Coconut, there's so much importance of coconut in terms of value-added products.
Okay.
So, ang dami.
Yeah.
What else? Poultry, halal,
Yes.
many of these products.
Sir, your predecessor, Manny Pino, was talking about sorghum. Is that a possible? Have you had a chance to look at it when you were in office? It's an interesting crop. Not many Filipinos know. I had to look it up myself, but apparently it's gaining popularity in other countries.
Sorghum, we need a lot of that in terms of the feed industry.
Okay.
Ang laki ng kailangan.
Yes.
Now, I hope with that move of former Secretary Piñol that he can succeed in reintroducing, kasi marami ng introduction ng soybean.
Right.
Hindi nag-fail na dito sa North Luzon. This has been properly introduced.
Yeah.
But it never have been developed properly.
Yeah.
Again, what I'd like to derive there, Klink, is if the private sector leads, even in its introduction and piloting until it is commercialized, you can see more success story than when the government starts.
Ironically, in a sense.
Yeah.
Are there any particular crops that you think we should be looking at? Maybe whether it's the private sector, the government. You mentioned cacao, coffee, sorghum. Is there anything else we should be looking at? Or maybe are there things that maybe we're not paying attention to?
The high value crops in general.
Okay.
Vegetables and the annual fruits.
Okay.
This would be I would consider them as the low hanging fruits.
Okay.
We should be investing more. We should be diversifying the rice production areas into these high-value commodities, because you can get more income per unit area than when you compare the income coming from rice and corn.
Right.
So again, the name of the game is diversification into high-value agriculture.
Right. So what do you think about, say, cassava? Because, we were in Indonesia. I hear that country uses cassava to make flour, noodles.
It's needed very much by the livestock industry.
Yes, and I heard some of your Filipino friends who were with you, they were saying that there's even technology to make noodles from pumpkins, from...
Lahat po yun pwedeng magawa, except we don't have the volume.
I see.
Again, it's all backyard. It's all small land holdings.
Okay.
So that's why we can promote as many of these promising commodities if you have the scale.
Okay.
So the farm clustering will be a key strategy to enticing again the private sector to come forward They don't want additional lands. They only want to have economies of scale
I see.
by way of partnering with the small farmers. Or if you have, for example, the lands in the ancestral domain, they want to partner with the people in those areas.
Right.
So just the government must see to it that the supporting mechanisms to make it possible for this partnership to happen must be there. Otherwise, ang hirap ng pribadong sektor kung masyadong restrictive yung regulations mo doon.
Right.
Dapat developmental ang orientation.
Right.
And there should be a one-stop shop even in every department that will assist the private sector now in a big way, partnering with the small farmers and those in the ancestral domain areas.
Interesting. Wow, that's a lot of opportunity. Sir, we'll be taking a quick break. You're watching Business and Politics. We're talking to former Secretary William Dar of DA. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to former Secretary William Dar of the DA. Sir, what's your outlook for the sector? I know we have, as you mentioned earlier, El Nino coming up at the end of the year, lasting probably through the first quarter of next year. We still have, the war in Ukraine that is causing a lot of issues. But what's your assessment and forecast for the end of the year and early next year?
Now, with what is happening in rice today, and with the presence of a leader in the Department of Agriculture, who is the President of the Republic, I think this is the time really to have a good surgical approach to reinventing Philippine agriculture, to rejuvenating Philippine agriculture, so that the very long-term goal natin to say in rice have self-sufficiency, lahat na yan, we have to harness everything possible towards that direction. Okay, the same is true for other crops. We need to go for diversification. We need to have higher budget allocation. Alam mo ba, Klink, ang high-value crops, which is the low-hanging fruit I was mentioning, only has about 2 billion peso budget. While the rice, of course, being a political commodity, has more than, that's about 40 billion pesos budget. So the budget of Department of Agriculture is rice-centric. Why not? But let's see to it also that the budget for other commodity industries like high-value agriculture, fisheries, and aquatic resources, livestock for one, ay dapat significant po ang pag-angat ng budget. And what's our level of budget today compared to ASEAN member economies? The annual budget allocation for agriculture is only about 1.6 to 1.8% of national budget.
Okay.
Other countries now are nasa 3% to 6% na.
Wow.
So we need to catch up. We are far behind. If we want really, now is the chance for President Marcos, being the leader in the department, to say, okay, by this time we should be at this level. And of course, you reform also the bureaucracy there in the department. Strengthen the bureaucracy so that they have to have the absorptive capacity to implement properly additional budget for these various commodity industries. We need a strong leader. We need, of course, many of the people there are dedicated.
Sure.
They need just to elevate their game. They need to up their game. Because, the challenge is there for agriculture to still become the backbone of this country. So, ganun po, let's rejuvenate Philippine agriculture and seeing to it that the right budget should be there. Long term, hindi lang short term. Of course, we need to look at short term.
Sure.
But even this time around, we need to plan the long-term investments. As I was saying, those public goods that must be there should be the target of the investments for Philippine agriculture. I was mentioning about, again, how can you have economies of scale?
Yes.
So the supporting mechanism, how can you have the right level of infrastructure in terms of irrigation, farm-to-market roads, post-harvest facilities, rainwater catchments, the dams. Ngayon na, itama na natin ngayon lahat. Para sa ganun ay, we are creating and ensuring the food requirements of our country in the future, given global headwinds.
Sure.
Global headwinds will always be there from here and there.
Yeah.
So anticipate this.
Yeah.
We need to have this anticipatory thinking and seeing to it that we start the day one, from day one, investments along this long-term track.
Yeah. Sir, I'll put you on the spot a bit. As you said correctly, the president, by taking on the DA portfolio, has elevated the profile of the department. Yes. But some critics are also saying that he has other important things to do, which are also bearing fruit now. His foreign trips are attracting a lot of attention for the Philippines, and as a result of that and other things, they're saying that maybe there should be a full-time agriculture secretary. You've been in that position before. What is do you have a take on it? Which is a better approach?
Klink, I was in favor initially then that the president continue, to be the
Secretary
of Agriculture because of the things that I mentioned.
Yes.
That Philippine agriculture has been neglected,
Yes.
underinvested,
Yes.
and there is little private sector engagement today in Philippine agriculture.
Yes.
So we want him to succeed, of course, always.
Yes, of course.
And this is the time for him to really restructure the whole thing, increase the budget to a very significant level, and reform the bureaucracy, and leave to a full-time Secretary of Agriculture. The President, we know, he has many other concerns, not only for agriculture.
Sure.
His time is limited.
Sure.
So that what I'm saying here, after putting the foundation for growing and developing Philippine agriculture, then he has to have a trusted, loyal secretary of the Department of Agriculture.
Other government policies that the Marcos administration should be looking at. They have been talking about maybe the Land Use Act. There are a number of programs to help MSMEs. Are there other things that maybe deserve attention also that can benefit?
Mention have been made about Land Use Act.
Yeah.
Every administration wants that passed.
Yeah, for
but
decades.
Never. If he wants to put a legacy, and this is one of them, let's have now a Land Use Act.
Okay.
Number two, the reforms that he wants to make in Philippine agriculture, this is the time to go to the Congress, both House and the Senate, to legislate. For example, itong economies of scale consideration for farm clustering, and what are the support systems.
Yeah.
We need to strengthen also yung livestock group,
Yes,
contributing almost 18% of the GDP sa bansa natin. and many more. So one thing that is to be considered very important, di ba na-devolve na itong extension to the local governments under the local government code? So supposedly the LGUs are in the front seat in terms of their food security considerations. Every province, every city, every municipality. But sad to say, the orientation of many still of the LGUs are still dependent on the national
government.
Although, of course, I would say that there must be the delineation of responsibilities. Okay, the National Department of Agriculture would do what I call the steering role. Okay, steering, this is the direction. While the local government units must do the rowing role. So yung talagang you need to
on
use
the ground,
all the braso mo, lahat ng pagod, but with the national direction given by the Department of Agriculture. That interaction, that partnership has to elevate. Today, there's so much to be desired. Wow. So may nagsasabi na if you look at long-term food security, you need to bring back the extension agents to the Department of Agriculture. Okay. So that really, there you can pinpoint the responsibility to the Department of Agriculture when there is shortage or any deficiency for that matter.
You think it's fragmented right now? Or?
That's what I'm saying. Okay. It's so decentralized that the LGUs do not still give prime importance to ensuring food security even for their constituencies. Of course, fuera de los buenos, there are those LGUs that are doing their share. But many of the LGUs today are really not in that mode, not in that mindset that they are the leaders of food security.
So you mentioned clustering. You know, the cooperatives have been there for a long time. How come they haven't been successful? Is it more of a lack of capability, or is it something else that's...
You know, cooperatives movement in the country is sorely lacking in terms of their, having to show successes. You know, I was starting to analyze the whole situation when I was there second time around. One strategy that I was going to put in place is depending on the scale of the cooperative's operations, it would be good to have professional managers assigned. And this is where I see the big billionaire cooperatives today in the country.
Yes.
They have professional managers.
We have some successful ones.
Yes, there are successful stories in terms of now billionaire cooperatives, Soro, Nueva Segovia.
Some of them won awards in ASEAN.
Jakarta. So ganun po, professional management is key. Then elevate their game in terms of financial management, of savings even, investment even.
R&D.
Lahat po yun, R&D. So talagang, I am not yet stopping in terms of going to build more cooperatives, but let's see to it that the needed components are now in place. There are even ideas, why not bring back the old Bureau of Cooperatives Development sa agriculture? Kasi more than ever, because of farm clustering and towards cooperatives development,
it needs to go hand in hand.
Although, of course, they say there is the CDA, the Cooperative Development Authority, but there are other priorities also of CDA. Ako, para wala nang masabi na neglected ang agriculture, bring or have a new Bureau of Agricultural Cooperatives Development.
So do you think mindset has to change among government?
Again,
I said the easiest solution is to import, right? But we forget that we have the...
I think the government has been balancing its act. Number one priority always, any government for that matter, is improving productivity or boosting productivity. Then, whatever is the gap, then that's the time you look at ensuring food security by way of importation. So dapat naintindihan ng publiko yun.
Yeah.
Boosting local production is key, and that's why you need to apply science and technology. You need to have this new mechanization. Lahat po na bagay na maipataas ang ani. Of course, capacity building, engaging the youth. Ang dami po gagawin para maitaas natin ang productivity. Again, emphasizing the importance of science and technology. Otherwise, we'll be left behind if we don't accelerate our research and development as well.
Sir, it's always a pleasure talking to you. As usual,
Thank you.
I learned so much. But before we go, would you like to leave our audience with a brief message?
Now, we are hoping this time around with President Marcos at the helm, as our President first and now as Secretary of Agriculture, this is the time really to see to it that the needed reforms would be in place and elevate the budgetary support as we are now seeing, but we need more. We need to have more budgets for the high-value agriculture, for livestock and fish, and including fisheries. Rice agriculture today is properly resourced, and so we need also to balance the budget to be given to the agriculture sector. So agribusiness is the way forward. That mindset has also to be, cascaded all down there with the farmers. They are agripreneurs. That's the bottom line. We need to have that mindset of being an agripreneur.
Sir, thank you very much for your
Salamat po.
time. I'd like to thank our viewers watching this program as well as those watching the replay. I'd like to thank Pastor Apollo Kibuloy for making this program possible. This has been Business and Politics. I'm Dante Klink, and I will see you next week.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.